Mr. Mayor?
Anyone else? Yes.
Alderperson of the 10th District?
Gentleman from the 10th.
Through the chair to City Attorney.
City Attorney, Mr. Antaramian?
Yes, sir. We're both here. Brian Chervosian is as well.
Thank you. Earlier today, we had a discussion in reference to exempted people. Has been any further development on language in reference to that area, Mr. City Attorney or Mr. Chervosian?
No, but so the other alderpersons are aware of that conversation. There are, once the Common Council, if the Common Council passes this resolution, there will be emergency powers that are generated as a result of Statute 320, Chapter 323. And included in that would be the ability of the mayor, should the need arise, to declare a curfew. That's going to be a fact-based determination in consultation with the police department. Should there be a curfew, there was certainly a recognition that there should be some exemptions to that curfew. And there were some 7 exemptions that we were considering. And among those 7 exemptions would be things such from first responders, police officers, medical personnel who are in the course of their duties, people going to and from work, people going to and from positions that are subject to the exemptions, and even an exemption for homeless persons. And there was an exemption among those 7. Again, this is all perspective and this is all a possibility, but an exemption for the press. An 8th one that has been discussed with administration, and we are, and further has been discussed with representatives from the ACLU, is the possibility of an exemption for observers. A huge problem is trying to define what an observer is, but it is under consideration by administration in consultation with our office.
Thank you, Mr. City Attorney. I just want to lend my support to this effort. I think that as we do these things to put ourselves in a defensive posture, I know you and your staff will always be aware of the constitutional issues and make sure that we do not violate those. If there is a way to provision legal observers on behalf of certain civil rights organizations, whether they be the NAACP or the American Civil Liberties Union, I would definitely support those efforts, and I thank you for continuing to find a way to include that in the language. To the mayor, Mr. Mayor, I'm going to support this motion tonight. My question to you is, how do you see you exercising the authority once the announcement is made? Are you willing to share your vision on how this would be exercised in our community?
The authority that you give me basically has certain requirements that go along with it as to legal issues as to what and how I do things. It's my intention to always make sure that I keep the city out of trouble when how we handle these projects. So in the case of curfew and everything else, the curfews, which are basically the one that you're most interested in, I'm assuming, that issue basically is going to be through discussions with the police and sheriff's department and with the legal department as to what is and what constitutes a threat to the community. And that's how I will be making that determination.
And I want to thank you for that. Do you envision, once these emergency powers are invoked, well, here's my question. Once these emergency powers are invoked, what is the duration, just so we can all be clear on that?
The initial concept here is basically first 15 days, I believe, is the dates that it's given. However, first 2 weeks of the month. However, the authority does not get implemented until the district attorney makes his announcement. At that point in time, I have 8 days before I need to come back to the council if I wish to do anything after that. We don't believe that will be necessary, but again, that is the way the language is written, so it is limited amount of authority given to the mayor on that basis.
Thank you for that information. Do you see a scenario in which these emergency, where the full extension of these emergency powers are not enacted?
Yes, there is that potential. Everything will depend on what occurs over the next couple of weeks.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. You know, sitting in these seats and making these decisions, sometimes you're criticized if you don't do something, and you're sometimes criticized if you do something. And I've had discussions with people who I have a lot of respect for, people I find to be very deliberate in their consideration of things. We're very troubled by this resolution and asked me to vote against it. And I thank them for their continued effort to educate me on their viewpoint. When I'm confused or when I'm faced with a very difficult decision, I go back to my mantra. I go back to what I think this job is. And that is, my job is to maintain or improve the quality of life for my constituents. That is my charge. That is what I told my constituents I would do when I asked for this job. And the 6 times that I have run for this job, I have kept saying, I'm going to maintain or improve the quality of life for my friends, for my neighbors, for my constituents. And while I find this vote that I'm going to take tonight difficult, I don't find it difficult in reference to or put against that criteria. If it's a matter of putting us in a defensive posture so that if something happens, we can respond, then I'm going to take that vote and I'm going to say yes. I will pray and hope that we don't have to invoke all these powers. And I know some of my friends who have been very active in our community and have been very concerned about where we are and have asked some very tough questions. I know they're going to say, well, you've asked for the community's trust. Now you have to show it. And I can't refute that argument. I really can't. I guess we're going to be in a position where we're going to have to trust the mayor to act in certain ways, and we're going to have to trust the community to act in certain ways and deal with the outliers of those situations as they come forward. It is my intention to support this resolution. Thank you for the time, Mr. Mayor.